Hello and welcome to Best of the Bets. I'm Christina Nicolaides and we're looking at the best betting opportunities for this weekend's Premier League and some of the European games as well. Regular guests, once again, Sam Diamond with a bid this week. He's our football expert and editor of bestofthebets.com. Welcome, Sam.
Hello.
And Gareth Walker, who is our bookie extraordinaire from HeavenBet and mermaidbet.dk. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Christina.
Good. We're going to get cracking. First game, QPR versus Stoke.
QPR are 2.2 for this one. The draw's 3.3 and Stoke City 3.4.
QPR beat Stoke in dramatic fashion towards the end of last season.
Yeah.
They need to win at least 4 of their last 5 games. But I think they can start with a win here because, as we say, Stoke are just in this freefall. Goals is a problem. They're very good at keeping them out, and it means that there's just been 69 goals in Stoke games this season. It's by far and away the lowest. It's 2.09 on average a game, and that's even less away from home. It's just 1.88. They failed to score 15 times in the Premier League this season. You can see where the problem is. Stoke beat QPR 1-0 earlier at the Britannia back in November, and that was to be honest, that was the first game where it really sort of highlighted to me just how poor this Stoke side are. Yeah. They got a win, but they barely deserved it. QPR dominated the game, but I think it's going to be a very similar. The last two have finished 1-0. I think this is going to be tight as well. QPR's 4 wins this season have all come after the break. They've all gone in at half-time level and gone on to win in the second half. Okay. So that's the way I'm going to go. I'm not going to back QPR just to win on 90 minutes. I'm going to go draw half-time, QPR full-time for this.
That's priced at 5.3, so that's draw half-time and QPR to win the game at full-time. I'm going to basically go against everything I've been preaching over the last few months and basically sort of ignore a lot of stats that you associate with these two teams. Stoke have been a great team for unders, not scoring a lot of goals. I think it's well documented that they've had 5 points in 2013, and it seems everyone's clamouring everywhere saying, oh, this is the team, Stoke are going to go down, they're in free fall, they're going to go down. I don't think they will go down, and I just think Stoke can feed on a bit of negativity that'll be round the home stadium. And at 3.4, it's big enough to tempt me in, actually. I think there could be goals here, which is very unusual for a Stoke game. Yeah. But I like the both teams to score, which is 1.85.
Can you really see Stoke changing their whole mentality? I mean, apparently certain players have come out and said they want to do this towards the end of the season. And Pullis is, he's a very
I've got faith that Pullis will. There's no inexperience or youth in that side, which is probably it is a negative moving forward. But just in terms of getting them out, one win and suddenly it all changes, as we've seen with Sunderland last week. All doom and gloom, suddenly one win and they're world beaters. And the same can happen with Stoke. They've got this game, they've got a couple of others coming up which are very winnable. I think Stoke will be fine. And I say I'm sort of ignoring a bit of logic here, but I think 3.4 at the prices, I just have to go with the away win.
My only concern about QPR is the fact that Bobby Zamora is still suspended. Yeah, he is. And I've said it all along, no one's really seemed to pay any attention to me, but Loic Remy on his own up front is quite ineffective. Yeah. I completely disagree with Gareth, really. I think this will be a tight, horrible game and probably separated as it was last season by maybe a set piece towards the end. Yeah.
OK. We're going to move on. Norwich versus Reading. Man of the match for Reading was definitely their keeper against Liverpool.
Well, Norwich are the shortest priced team we've got on Saturday at 1.7. Reading are 5.2 and the draw's 3.8. So 1.7, that's for a team that have won 1 game in 16.
Yeah, it's not really a price that's going to tempt you in, is it? Alex McCarthy, of course, you're referring to there, fantastic against Liverpool. I think kept out 15 Liverpool shots on target. Just had one of those afternoons, and I think he's pretty much made that position his own because it is one that Reading have struggled with this season. Adam Federici's looked very suspect as a top flight keeper to me. Norwich, they're an odd team. We've said before they're difficult to beat, but this just run they're on now is, it's not nice at all. And everything seemed to go to plan at Arsenal, how they wanted it to, until just those 5 minutes remaining, and they've conceded 3 times. Unfortunate to do so.
And it seemed that after that first one went in, which was a debate,
it was just inevitable, wasn't it?
But then after that, you just knew Arsenal were going to score again, and that would be a worry that they've got the game plan and brilliant defensively set out and all the rest of it, but then something went against them, and then suddenly all of a sudden
that is a worry.
And
I mean, from another psychological view, is they went into that Arsenal game not expecting to get anything, and having got so close, that's got to be a body blow. And now they're playing a game where all the expectancy and pressure is on them. They've pretty much now going to have marked this as their game.
Well, this has always been that you sort of think Norwich is saving grace all the time. They've always got this home game to Reading coming up. Here it is. They need.
Is this a game where we're going to
3.
see goals or not?
I can't see it, to be honest. They played out a very, very dull 0-0 draw earlier in the season. I think just 3 shots on target in the whole game. I was looking, only one game in Norwich's past 17 has a striker got on the score sheet. The one thing they've got really going in the favour is they are quite solid at Carrow Road. They're unbeaten in 6.
Yeah.
However, they have drawn 5 of those, and 3 of those have been 0-0. So I could see another 0-0, and I'm probably going to go no goal scorer here.
Yeah, I've been looking to oppose Reading recently on the basis that they're just clearly the most inferior team in the division, but I can't possibly look back in Norwich at 1.7.
Yeah.
I mean, they have managed to score in successive games in the Premier League for the first time this year, but you know they're so reliant on the set pieces. But this one, logic points to not a lot of goals and not a lot of goal mouth action, and I'm sticking with the logic on this one. Maybe, well, yeah, certainly wouldn't put anyone off the 0-0. Worth bearing in mind that Heaven Bet and Mermaid refund losing correct score and first goal scorer if a game ends 0-0. So I'm certain we'll see a fair bit of business on this game for that offer. But I mean, yeah, overall, I think the draw at 3.8 is the bet that stands out.
Yeah.
You know, 0-0, 1-1, got to be real likely runners, I'd say, for this one.
Reading haven't kept a clean sheet away from home all season. I think that's probably the only thing that goes against backing the no goal scorer here. But with Alex McCarthy in that form, hopefully he can do it again.
Okay. Next game we're looking at West Ham versus Wigan.
West Ham 2.2 for this one. Wigan a 3.3 and the draw's 3.4.
Wigan are fighting to get out of the drop zone, and they've done it. They've done it year after year.
They have, and that's got to go in their favour in this run-in.
Although they don't normally have an FA Cup final to this
Very
That is true, and a lot of people
true.
will think that's a distraction, but I genuinely don't think it is.
No.
I think
the pressure's not on them, is it, really, for the FA Cup final? I mean, everyone's just...
And they've pretty much got certain of a place in Europe as well, which is a phenomenal achievement. So I think they really can concentrate now on the league in these sort of last few games of the season. They were very unlucky at Manchester City in the week. Went down late on. And West Ham themselves produced a sort of a very good display against Manchester United. So it's interesting to see how they're both going to react. I just feel with West Ham is they again put a lot of energy into this game in midweek, eye-catching result, live on the television. And when they've done that before, and I think particularly when they beat Chelsea at home early in the season, the run they went on after that was very poor in comparison. And I think Wigan could go here and actually catch them cold. I like Wigan to win.
Yeah, 3.3, and that's the bet that draws me in as well. I do think that's a good point about West Ham. I think the next game they were ahead against Liverpool, and then it all went to bits in the last sort of half an hour. So, yeah, I think that West Ham, they've had 3 very credible draws in a row, which have basically now secured them safety. But yeah, I'd definitely be looking to side with Wigan on this one. Okay,
we're going to move on to Sunderland versus Everton.
Getting Di Canio in looks at the moment to be a masterstroke. They're 3.5 to win this game against Everton. Everton are 2.2 and the draw's 3.4.
I think Sunderland have enough now to breach them. That I think the sort of the confidence and this newfound responsibility in the team that we haven't seen for a long time, very evident in the goals they scored. The negative they have now is their record against Everton is rotten. They haven't beaten them in 19 games in all competitions. But I think this could be a sort of fixture to keep an eye on, and I quite like prices about a score draw.
Okay, score draw is priced at 4.6, so rather than getting 3.4 for the draw, you're taking 0-0 out of the equation and getting 4.6. I agree with Sam that I think there'll be goals in this one. I think that I've still got a big question mark against Sunderland. Well, you've got to bear in mind that they've had 6 shots on target in those 2 games, and 4 of them have gone in, which is completely unsustainable. They had a 64% pass completion rate against Newcastle, which is about as low as you'll see anywhere. Newcastle had more possession against Sunderland than they have against any other team this season. I'm very tempted by Everton at 2.2, but the bet I really like is the over 2.5 goals, which is priced at 2.05. Contender for one of the best bets of the weekend, I think, because Di Canio certainly is going to have Sunderland piling forward and being attacking. You can't improve defending like that just overnight. So I think Everton are looking back to somewhere near their start of season good form. So I think over 2.5. I like a lot.
OK, we've heard what the boys have had to say about this particular game. It's time to hear from Mike Holden.
I don't think anyone would try to say that Sunderland are a better side than Everton by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think in the circumstances going into this weekend, there's real chances for Sunderland to win this game, and I think they're a big price at anything over 2-1. Everton went to Arsenal in midweek and, played out what would have been quite a taxing game at the Emirates. But they have to win this game, Everton, and I think the fact that they have to win as a team that's drawn so many throughout the season, I think that sense that they have to commit so much to getting the full 3 points might leave them vulnerable. And I think there's real chances there for Sunderland to push away from danger.
Mike will be very happy then. That's 3.5 for a Sunderland victory.
OK. We're going to move on to Fulham versus Arsenal. Arsenal in pretty good form, but can Fulham slow them down?
Well, I was assured earlier this week...
Fulham can slow anything down at the moment.
Fulham are 5.2, Arsenal 1.7, and the draw is 3.8.
Yeah, perhaps a little less confident after the Chelsea defeat in the week. Because the point I'm making is, with no Ashkan Dijaga and no Damien Duff, there's a real lack of width, and there's such a lack of pace in the side. We've mentioned before that it's a very old, experienced 11 that they've got.
Yeah.
But just so many times in the week when they were in a good position to counter, the game is slowed right down. The lack of pace in the Fulham team was so evident. I can just imagine someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain or Theo Walcott sort of really causing problems, and it's Theo Walcott that I'm looking at as a first goal scorer option.
Yeah.
Walcott is priced at 5.3. I'm drawn to these Arsenal stats about how well they do late in games. It's not a new angle to look at them with, but 18 goals now in the last 15 minutes of games, far more than anyone else has managed. So tempted by the Fulham half-time, Arsenal full-time option, which is 21. 5.2 is tempting though. I was looking, thinking, well,
I suppose Arsenal haven't really been convincing in some of these recent games. Norwich, West Brom, Everton. Yeah,
1.7 away at Fulham. Fulham's price has drifted. I'm more inclined to back them because they didn't win in the week. If they'd beaten Chelsea, it would have been party time for 2 days and no preparation for this. Whereas as it is,
well, no, he wouldn't have turned up for filming today.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to move on. 4 more teams in action. Swansea versus Southampton, West Brom versus Newcastle. What are we thinking on these particular games? I'm going to go for, I actually think Southampton, fantastic run of form. Definitely go for Southampton. And I'm even going to go for Newcastle again.
Southampton, Newcastle, they away double.
I think she just read my away double, because I quite like those two teams as well. Southampton, probably disappointed to draw with West Ham, but they had a sort of a late run of illnesses in the squad, and I think players like Rodriguez, who didn't make the starting 11, will be back in for this one.
Yeah.
It's enough to tempt me against the Swansea team, who are pretty much on the beach now after winning the Capital One Cup. And Newcastle, I think there'll be a reaction. West Brom without Malumbu.
Yeah.
Probably won't back either of these in a single, but the double pays.
Well, the double pays 10.6 because you're getting Southampton 3.2 and Newcastle 3.3. Well, Southampton on the Asian handicap plus 0 is 2.15. I'd rather take that than the 3.2 because I think the draw is quite a big runner. So it's a draw no bet effectively. Southampton 2.15. Or if you think another bet that drew me in, Southampton to lead at half time and it to be a draw at full time is 13.6, which is a tempter. West Brom Newcastle could be anything really. I'm drawn to the draw here because I think that a draw is fine for both.
Okay. Time to hear from you. We've been listening to your tweets. @Simonman says, at best of the bets, I see most value in BTTS markets. Swansea Southampton, West Ham Wigan, Sunderland Everton and Spurs Man City.
Yeah, I like that bet actually. Yeah, a four game, both teams to score accumulator, very sort of popular bet. Those 4 pay 7.5.
OK, we're going to move on to best bets.
I'm going to go with this 5.3 about a draw half-time, QPR full-time against Stoke.
OK.
I'm going to go for over 2.5 goals, Sunderland against Everton, 2.05 odds against. I think goals are inevitable at the Stadium of Light.
My best bet was QPR to beat Stoke 1-0, but I'm going to go with the double, so Southampton and Newcastle to win.
The Southampton-Newcastle double, 10.6. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you. If you want to place your bets on any of this weekend's action, then head to our website, which is heavenbet.com. You'll find all the latest odds and much more. For our Danish viewers, you can watch the show back on footy.dk and you can place your bets on mermaidbet.dk. Join us after the break when we look at Sunday's games and some of the European action. See you then.
betting site from Poker Heaven.